So here I'm going to show some mathematical analysis of welfare for international trade. A lot of times I show supply and demand, and I can show different sized triangles and rectangles and show you if the consumer surplus triangle grows, consumers are better off, or if maybe deadweight loss grows, then everyone's worse off. But here I'm going to use two lines. We use a linear equation to show you actual numbers for quantities consumed, and then I can also calculate those shapes, right? So basically these are real linear equations here, and then I've got an autarky price before trade, and then this country's going to import, so this is the world price. They're going to buy this low price. This gap is the imports. And I'm basically going to show you how to solve for price and quantity and equilibrium, show you consumer surplus and producer surplus and deadweight loss. Bring in the world price, then we can have imports and then new consumer and producer surplus after trade. And then after autarky and trade, we can introduce a tariff, which will have new imports, and the government will collect revenue. Then we're going to have a third numbers for consumer and producer surplus, and we'll see what happens with deadweight loss. Right? So the equations that I'm using are quantity supplied is 2p, so it's a positive equation. Quantity demanded is 24 minus 4p. Basically, this is a negative equation. We can set them equal. So 2p equals 24 minus 4p. Move 4p over, we have 6p equals 24. So that means p is 4. And if we put that here, we can have quantity supplied. Quantity supplied is 8. And then 4 times 4 is 16. 24 minus 16 is also 8. So QS and QD are going to be the same in equilibrium. Right? So equilibrium price is $4 and equilibrium quantity is $8. All right. Now, how do we calculate welfare? All right, so consumer surplus is always the triangle above equilibrium price, and so you can have 1/2 base times height. And the base we know is 8, and the height is the gap from the vertex 6 to 4, so it's a height of 2. So 1/2, 8 times 2 is $8. So consumers get $8 worth of welfare. Producers, you can see this is a little bit bigger. It's going to be a bigger triangle. This has a height of 4 and a base of 8, and so 1/2, 4 times 8 is 16. So the consumer surplus triangle is 8, and the producer surplus triangle is 16, and together they add up to 24. So total welfare for both consumers and producers is 24 here. So we bring in the world price, and I talk about this elsewhere. And again, I show this elsewhere with just triangle shapes, but there's different theories where this comes from. It could be technology or resources or some kind of historical accident. But right now we're saying this is the importing country, and it is going to have an autarky price of 4, but a trade price of 2. And we're going to show that they're better off. Now, first of all, there's going to be a different quantity demanded and a different quantity supplied. So the quantity supplied actually drops. This low price puts producers out of business, and the low price attracts new consumers. So there's much more demanded, and there's less supplied domestically. And this gap in between is 12 units. You can actually see these numbers. So this is 16, and this is 4. This gap here is your imports. Okay, and consumers are going to gain from this because the triangle is now even bigger. So it has a height of 4, right, from 6 to 2, and now it has a base of 16. So half of 4 times 16 is going to be 2 times 16, or 32. Now the producer surplus is going to be smaller, right? It was 16, now it's only 4, all right? So because there's a less quantity and there's a lower price. So 1/2, 2 times 4, right, because this is the new base, is 4. Now, so you can see that consumers are better off, right? Because it was 8 and it grew to 32, so trade made consumers better off, and trade made producers worse off, right? Because it put those domestic industries out of business. But together, total welfare rose from 24 to 36. So this is the same outcome you can get in different examples. You could use a PPF, you could use Ricardian comparative advantage, but welfare is better off with trade than without trade, all right, as total. Now, you can see right here that within the country, producers are worse off, and that's really important for understanding policy, right? A lot of these people want their jobs back. That's fair, but the total country welfare is actually higher with trade. So let's say that those people who want their jobs back advocate for a tariff, and they get a $1 tariff, and so they're going to raise the world price from $2 to $3, okay? So we can actually plug $3 in here. So quantity supplied goes up from 4 to 2 times 3 is 6. Quantity demanded is going to become 12, right? So that's going to drop a little bit. So we can put the new numbers in here for this slightly smaller triangle, right? So it's going to be 1/2, right? So here's 6, right? And here so let's say from here. So we have the price of 3, and we're going to go all the way from 3 all the way over to a 12. All right. So the height of 3, base of 12, and then you can divide by 2 and you get 18. Now producer surplus is going to grow, right? So it was down here, now it's going to be up here, so it's taller and it's wider because you've put some of those manufacturers or producers back into business, right? So it's taller and it is wider, so it's going to be a bigger triangle. And you can calculate that, so there's a height of 3 and a base of 6 and half of 18, right? So 6 times 3 is 18, divided by 2 is 9, and it's going to be an area of 9. So basically they get their jobs back, but they actually take a slice of the old consumer surplus. That's a transfer from consumers to producers. So trade made everybody better off. A tariff is going to take some of that away, and it's going to kind of reverse some of the changes that free trade brought on. All right. Now there's 3 shapes left. All right. 2 of them are deadweight loss. First of all, bringing inefficient industries back into business takes away this welfare triangle. So you're increasing production, but it's at a higher cost, right? Because it could have been done at a low cost, but now you're actually transferring it back to domestic producers. This is an efficiency loss, this triangle here. And then this is a welfare loss because these consumers, when they see the high price, they're following the law of demand. And they say, well, the prices are higher, I no longer want to buy it. So this is a utility loss. All right, so adds up together, this one is 2 times 2 divided by 2. So this is an area of half of that, so it's area of $1. Right, I think I said that wrong. It's a height of 1, base of 2, right? So and divided by 2 is 1. All right, and then over here you're going to have an area of 2 here. So it's a base of 4, height of 1. All right, and then that turns into $2 as a triangle. So there's $3 worth of deadweight loss. Final thing is that there's now, remember, imports have dropped. Imports were higher, but now they're only 6, right? Because there's less demand and more supply at home. There's only 6 units imported, and that's the gap from 12 to 6. And for every one of those 6 units, the government collects $1. So the government collects $6 on this tariff. Right? So we used to just have consumer surplus and producer surplus. Now we have deadweight loss, which is both efficiency and utility, and then we have government revenue. Right? All of this together still adds up to 36. It's just cut up different ways. Some of it's transferred from consumers to producers, some is transferred from consumers to the government, and some of it is just simply lost. And that's the idea that trade hurts welfare and actually makes the world better off. Now the producers do benefit from this tariff, but overall the world is worse off. All right, so that's what the numbers show. You can actually put numbers on autarky. You can show producer and consumer surplus. You can show those numbers grow with free trade, and then you can show some of that taken away. Some of it is lost, and some of it is transferred to the government.